Hello there, my name is Song. In this video, I'm going to give you a quick overview of turn-based ToolKit. So as you can see here, I got a project with turn-based ToolKit installed. So let's get started. So the first thing you should know, there's a top panel here which intend to assist you to do everything. So to start a new scene, you don't need to drag the prefabs, build the scene from scratch. Instead, you just click new scene. It will set everything up nicely for you. As you can see, you got a nice template here, which you can start work with. And next on, we look at the hierarchy. So it is very simple if you look at it. It contains several base components. They are all named accordingly, so you can tell probably from the names what each component is doing. So audio manager handles the sound, camera control is basically the camera, game control handles all the game logic and stuff, text grid manager control the grid itself, UI of course is the UI component which use end UI as you can see here. So I'm going to run you through the rest of the top panel. So you have the rest here is the editor. You have unit editor, ability editor, collectibles, damage armor table. We'll go through that later on. But for now, let's focus on the core component, game control. So game control here is a component which you define all the game rules. So you can quickly set up all the rules you want to use here. As you can see, all the variables here comes with tooltip. So you can just hover over them and know what each of them are intended for exactly. So we have the turn mode. You can select different turn mode. As you can see, if you select them, each of them will give you an explanation of what they are for. So, and we have, ignore this label for now, it's a small bug. So this is actually data mode, so in which you select to use the current setup for this level or use persistent data you carry on from the other scene. And you have the movement rule, which tells the unit to use 1 AP for a move or use 1 AP for a tile and attack. And this is just the point. Never mind, we'll gloss through this. This is not as important now. And then we'll have the enable unit placement. You want the player to be able to place their own unit at the start if they have any. That's it. And enable counter attack means unit will counter attack. Will perform a counter attack to any of their attacker. Like in some of the game you've seen, probably not XCOM, but I play King's Bounty, that any melee unit can counter attack back to any melee attacker. So that's the idea. And restore new AP at new round. In this game, I should explain first. In this game, each unit has a AP, which is some sort of energy bar, which you can then use to perform unit ability or move or even attack. Should you wish, you can set up the rules here. I forgot to explain this. So if you want you need to use AP for every move they do, you can do that. Or you can just use the AP to use the ability. You can even ignore that. Alright, so and the idea is you can set up the rules so that you restore full AP at every new round, so the unit has a certain limited amount of AP to use for the player to decide if they want to move, attack, or use ability, or they can accumulate AP over each round. We'll go into that later, which means the other way around. The unit accumulate AP over rounds, and then at certain point when they accumulate enough of AP, they can use the unit ability to do something special. So that's the idea. And allow movement after attack, allow ability after attack. So this is very basic. Basically, if you wanna rules like XCOM where after you fire or you attack, you can't move anymore, or you can do a quick attack and then retreat, move further to a safer point. So that's up to you. Then finally we have the action cam, which is we can probably show that later. So I'll show that later. Then we have the starting unit. So this is basically just say what unit you want the player to start with in this given map. Of course, there are options to bring it over from previous level, but for now I'll just show you this. It's very simple. So you do this, probably will work. So okay, it doesn't. So right, doesn't matter. We'll go into the example for that. Now let's go to this. This is the important bit. So this is how you set up the grid, the hex grid, right? So you have two components here. This is for editing the grid. We'll go through that later. For now, let me focus on the hex grid manager. So this is what you use to generate the grid. So you can just click generate to regenerate. Obviously it does nothing now, but let's try to set unwalkable rate to 0.2. That means 20% of this tile won't be walkable. So there you go, you can see the difference. And you can change the size, of course. Let's change it to 5, much smaller, or bigger, 15. So it's up to you. But for now, I wouldn't recommend you to go above 40. It takes quite a while to generate something that big. Due to the nature of each hex style is a transform object, and Unity is taking time to instantiate each of them. But I'll try to get around that, and then you can set the grid size. So it's going to look bigger now, or smaller. And then the length, the height where you want it to, so it will go higher. Typically I'll set it at 0. And then grid to tile size ratio, you can give it a nice spacing by adjusting this. I'll change it to 1.1. So you can see there's a small spacing there. You can then make it bigger, 1.2. Or you can make it the tile overlap. Even smaller. Right. This is too much, obviously, so I wouldn't recommend you to go past 0.9 or higher than 1.2. Then we have the unwalkable tile rate. I have already explained this, how much of the tile is not walkable, and this is the prefab for each tile. As I explained, each of this tile is actually a single transform, right? So you see all of them are here, and these are all instantiated using a prefab, of course, which is placed in resource hex tile. Yep, this is the one. So obviously you can use your own hex tile should you wish, right? So just assign them here, and then the indicators you can leave this for empty for the most part. And then we have the player placement unit, which is you define the area where the player can place their own unit if they have any set up here. So that is probably why it doesn't work just now, because I never set up an area. So it is a square, so basically you can set the start position and the width, let's say 10 and 10, and not a very good one. So you can see there's a square being drawn on the scene view, so you can adjust the position. And how this works is every hex tile that is covered in this square will be set as available for unit placement. Alright, so then we'll go to the fraction. This is for the generator to procedurally place in unit. So you can add in fraction, you can add area. This works similar as player placement area. So let's give it something. So you see, you can adjust the color. This is just for debug, of course, to make your life easier when editing the scene. And then you can set how many units. Let's just say 2. and the possible unit to spawn there. So you can make it so that it spawns just one type of unit, or give it an option of 6 units to spawn from. Spawn 2 from 6 of this. Okay, so it's very simple. Let's keep it simple. 2. So enforcer and guardian. Okay, now if I generate, you see there will be 2 units, and this unit placement area will be set as available for unit placement. The tile will become greenish in color, say indicate that it can be used to place unit, or yeah, that's it. And another important thing is the ID, the faction. So basically you can have multiple faction, and each of them are hostile to each other, obviously, but 0 are the default ID for player faction. That means player will always control the faction ID as 0. So the rest has to be larger than 0. If you can also make it so that all these are hostile unit, and then you let the player hand place some units into some corner. So basically that's the idea. Okay, so you can see it's very convenient once you got the thing set up, and then we can further modify this using this grid painter. So basically you just need to enable it, and you can select from 3 edit mode tile when you want to edit any of this. So I can set it to unwalkable. Okay, I'll set it to unit placement. Now I click on that, all this will change, alright? Or I can set it to unwalkable, like this, and I can remove this from the scene. If you look at it, you can't see it anymore over here because I've taken them off. Okay, so if you wish to have something very specific, some very specific hex pattern, you can always generate a larger grid and then trim it off and shape it however you like. Okay, so you can edit other features as well. You can even edit the defend modifier. So if you click at all, there will be numbers showing up in each tile indicating, okay, the defend modifier for this tile is 0. So you can, I want to set it to 0.5. Remember, 1 is actually the maximum. That will give a 100% defend bonus to the unit on the tile. So you never want to set it above 0 unless in some very extreme case. So I have it at 0.5. So now I click on it. This will be set to 0.5. Now if I change it to damage modifier, nothing. Alright, so I can again set here to damage modifier is actually okay. I give it 1 extra damage to every unit within this tile. Okay, I can even give it a negative value. So you can see the arrow change. Okay, so this is just some helper to visual helper to let you know, to give you a quick glance of what is actually happened on the grid. And then you can hand place unit as well. Again, select the unit faction and just click on the tile. Obviously you can't place it on unwalkable, but there you go. And then you have the collectible, which work exactly the same as the unit. Alright, now we'll go into the editor. To add unit to, you can probably tell how do I have all this option readily available here for my unit. Okay, so this is how I do it. For every unit, you need to add them to unit manager. So they are here. So if you want to add a new unit, let's say, let me delete this Peacekeeper Y. Okay, I remove it. No, I can't find it. Okay, it is this guy here. So I need to bring back my unit manager. I'll just drag it to there. Right, it's there again. And now you can effectively select it in anywhere which you might need to access the unique data pool. So again, after you do that, you can edit each of the unit this way using this unit editor. So all the unit assigned to unit manager is here. So you can just select them and then modify all the stats. They're all lined up here. I'll probably make another video to explain all this later. So, but again, all of these comes with tooltips, so you can tell what are they for by just hovering them, or you can go into the documentation which I've written, which showed about the same thing, right? Then you can have unit ability. You can just add unit ability to a unit by just highlight the unit ability here. And then let's move on to unit ability. You edit them by using unit ability manager. So you can create a new ability very easily or delete. Okay, and you set them out just like this. You name them, change the type, set the effect, and then you